Hi, thanks for joining me and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at this tax-efficient withdrawal strategy that saved my clients about $645,000. I'm going to lead you through exactly how I did that. So if you're trying to do this yourself, you can see how I'm going through the CPP optimization, the RRSP meltdown, how to use the tax-free savings account in your plan. And if you're thinking about getting a retirement plan, this should solidify your decision to go ahead and get a plan done, because it's a great transformation, saving about $645,000 so in taxes. So let's get into the video, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button, like and share the video with everybody you think needs to see this. Okay, let's get into introducing you to Bob and Mary. They're 65 and 63 years of age, retiring. And you can see the far right hand side, they got about $2.4 million in total investments. So that's non-registered TFSA RSPs, which includes spousal RSPs, some LIRA money there, and starting off with $2.4 million. So it's quite a bit of money to get through. And that's the challenge in doing a plan like this. And I'm going to share with you sort of like the nuances that you have to go through to be able to try to save that kind of money in taxes. You can see right away that middle column, you get the benefits column, that's CPP benefits, not group benefits, but CPP and old age security. And as you can see, we're starting the collection of CPP and old age security at age 70. Now I'm going to go through each of Bob's withdrawal strategy and then over to Mary, just so you can see it all. And then I'm going to show you the total amount of savings, which is transformational. And I think you'll love it. Okay, so the next slide here is talking about Bob's withdrawal strategy. Now, I'm not going all the way out to age 86 or age 89 because the screen is not big enough to show you this. I'm just going to show you out to about age 83, 84. But know that if you look at that RSP column, by the time Bob is 84, 85 years of age, we have gotten out of his RRSPs, out of his RRIFs, and the LIF is down to 0. So just know that part is done. You can see that on the left hand side, Bob is going to have a pension, a very modest pension that he's going to have in retirement, which kind of makes the drawdown a little bit harder, because when you're doing in this particular case, he has a LIRA that when you go to do the drawdown, as you can see in that yellow column, the LIRA changes to a LIF. And that's when you have that minimum maximum formula. For those of you who have that opportunity to take 50% out of your LIF and move it to your RSP. So that presents the challenge. So what you're seeing on the screen is the remaining 50% in the LIF. We've already moved the 50% out and put it into his RSP, and then began the RSP meltdown. In this case, we RIF'd right away, so we converted his RSP to a RIF at age 65 so that we could start the pension income splitting right away. So a couple things, I might be going too fast for you, a few things that are going on here at the same time. One, we're going to take his RRSP, the little that he has there, and ignore it for now. We move over to the LIRA. The LIRA had twice as much money in it the previous year, and we now turn that LIRA into a LIF and move 50% of the balance into his RSP. So that's kind of like step one. Now that you've got the remaining balance in the LIF, now we're going to maximum fund that LIF. You get to do a minimum or a maximum funding, and if you do a minimum, guaranteed you're going to be leaving money behind for Canada Revenue Tax. So you want to do a maximum funded LIF withdrawal strategy. That's what we're doing here. First, you start off with making sure you get the maximum LIF going. Then you turn your attention to your RRSP. So those of you who are doing it yourself, and if you have a LIRA, the first step is you want to pay attention to making sure you start with the LIRA first, turning it to a LIF, move the money over to your RSP, and then begin your RSP calculations as to how you're going to do the withdrawal. So we've done the LIF. Now I'm going to focus your attention on the RSP. Now, before you even do that, the next thing is, when do you start CPP? So in this case, we're starting CPP at age 70. And that allows us to take, as you can see in those first 5 years from 65, 66, 67, 68, and 69, we're taking that money, that withdrawal strategy. We're doing the $70,000 the first year, $70,000 the second year. These are all withdrawals. $35,000, $35,000, and $40,000. Then in age 70 and 71 is a period of where it gets a little bit tight. Now, the question is, do you increase the RRSP withdrawal to the extent that you're not going to have an old age security clawback? And that would mean we'd have to go a lot higher in the withdrawal. And I'm just not willing to sacrifice the taxes that you're going to have to pay in order to get the RSP or the RRIF balance low enough that there won't be an old age security clawback. So what we try to do was we try to stay in around about the 20% tax bracket, and you can see it drops later on. But that is sort of the problem with having a LIRA when you go into retirement with a large RRSP balance. With a pension on top of that, you just have too much taxable income. So for all of those people who are younger watching this, there are a few of you, making sure what kind of accounts you're funding along the way is really, really important. Get a plan done early, because you could avoid this by the way that you're investing in your investment accounts. In fact, it may have been better for Bob to put more money in a spousal plan than just leave it in his hands like this. So that was one of the trade-offs, that had he had done some planning earlier on, he probably would have been able to avoid the old age security clawback. But in any case, not too much of a sacrifice, about $6,000 throughout his lifetime of a clawback. So we've gone through the RSP meltdown, get that all the way down there. We're being mindful of that tax rate, trying to keep it around 19-20%. Mission accomplished. Let's go on over to Mary. Mary's situation is a little bit similar. Look, we've got a large RSP balance, but no pension. So it's a lot easier to do the meltdown. And she's got a spousal, so there's quite a bit of money in her hands, but the income that's coming off of the RSP withdrawal isn't high enough that we're going to get a clawback. And we've managed to do a complete RRSP, in this case a RRIF meltdown, because we converted it to a RRIF. And there's pension income splitting. You can see on the left hand side we're doing as much pension income splitting as we can to keep their tax rate lower. And in both Bob and Mary, we're maximum funding their TFSA accounts. They never needed their tax-free savings account. You may have heard us talk about your tax-free savings account often is a place for you to just collect money to go into your estate later on to pass it on to your beneficiaries. It's a great tool if you don't need to use your TFSA. It's a great estate conservation tool, because you're not going to pay any income tax on this when you give it to your beneficiaries at your passing. In this case, Bob and Mary never need it because they have so much taxable income, both in the pensions, the RRIF meltdown, and the spousal RRIF as well. We're melting it down. So you can see around 19-20% tax rate throughout the whole retirement for Mary. We get that down to 0 as well. And so what is the result? Well, let's have a look. So the base scenario, when they come to us, they say, okay, here's our assets, and we're thinking we might do this kind of withdrawal, and that's what the base scenario is. It's your kind of idea of how you're going to use your money in retirement versus a tax efficient withdrawal. So let's go across these particular lines here. Lifetime personal tax, you're going to pay more tax when you do your RSP withdrawal, because you are purposefully taking out more money in the meltdown, which increases your tax base. Quite often it'll increase your tax base by $362,000. And you think, well, why should I do that? Well, you'll find out. They save $645,000. Lifetime government benefits, by being able to get rid of some of the old age security clawback. In this case, about $4,000 was the clawback. So they were able to gain about $12,000, almost $13,000 of CPP and old age security had they just done it the way they were going to do it. Financial assets at their passing is gone up by $1.6 million. So they're actually passing on more assets. And part of the reason for that is because they are doing a deferral of their CPP at age 70. So from 70 all the way up to age 90, for instance, their income is being is bonus, right? The CPP goes up by 42%. And if the CPP is much higher, then they don't need as much as their own cash, because CPPs doing the heavy lifting during their retirement. So they actually save more money. So that is really what the difference here is that tax-free savings account is now ballooning up. And you've seen me you see me do these videos up here of the $1 million TFSA account. This is a typical of what's going on with this couple. Real assets, that's their home. Total assets, and you get into the estate tax. That's tax on the estate right there. It says $840,000 in the base scenario versus about $200,000 of taxes that they're going to have on their estate. And you've got a $645,000 tax savings. That's just a great tax efficient strategy. Their estate goes up by just over $2 million. Much of that is because they don't need the money because of all that income and the way we drew down on the RSPs, ballooned up their TFSA, and that increased their estate value. Many of you, as a tip here, many of you don't think about your TFSA too much in retirement. And I want you to encourage you to keep filling up your TFSA every year as much as you can, put in the maximums, because that will just be a great estate tool for you later on. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thanks for sticking around. I have a question for you. How much tax does your retirement plan save you? Put your comments below. I love reading your comments. And thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, and be well.